What part did the music play in the starting of breaking, in the 70s in the Bronx and even the graffiti? Like when now that you know more about it.
I have my own vision about it. They call it breaking because of the break of the record, of the funk track. Usually, when you listen to a funk track, especially from back in the days, there's this one section where all the instruments they pulled out and you only hear percussion and maybe a bass or a little funk guitar to it. But most of the instruments are getting pulled out. This is what's called the break. That's why it's called break-in. That's why later on, the commercial term breakdancing came out, or BBoying stands for break boy. So the motive was when this track was played, to me now, right? And how it made sense to me. And I witnessed it too before I even knew about breaking, before I even knew about the dance. When I listened to certain records, when the break came on, I always had the feeling as if I wanted to fill the vacuum. Yeah, fill when all the instruments were dragged out. I wanted to fill that vacuum with the visual instrument, basically. Okay. Yeah, but that's my philosophy.
But it's very possible that other people felt that way in the past. And so that's when the B-boys would come out of the club.
Even James Brown did it on stage.
Right, that's when he did his dancing, right?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't singing.
Exactly.
Okay.
He wasn't singing, so when the break came on, James Brown went down. He also went on the ground, did corkscrew split, and so on and on. So to me, naturally, like when, and James Brown was a big icon, in the days. But let's talk about icons. When I describe breaking, I always want people to visualize it a bit more with, like, back in the days, who were like the big heroes for those people that lived in the Bronx back then. So I mentioned that I grew up with superheroes, so did they, same thing. So people were reading comic books. It was, like, I think today still, like when I'm looking at my son, he's 10 years old. He loves his mangas and stuff, he loves Naruto and all those, So back in the days, it wasn't any different. It's just that we had different characters. So on one hand, the superhero in you, and you have to develop, like in X-Men, that you have superpowers, but now you have to develop them. Right. Yeah? So that's typical B-boy to me. Now, secondly, James Brown, who created the music, that rough beat, where you hear and you feel the rage in his music. Yeah.
So there's rage in B-boying.
Definitely. So going back to Concrete Jungle, and that people, I would have been angry. I was also angry when I was growing up. Yeah. Angry young kid with lots of energy. So now I could canalize that energy, and I went the creative way. Other people from my neighborhood, they didn't. Then you had Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was very remarkable. Yeah, and not just because it was Bruce Lee, and we know him from the Kung Fu movies, but also every time I'm looking at Kung Fu movies or other movies from the late 60s, early 70s, I realize that Europeans always won. Yeah, now there's this one movie that came out where Bruce Lee is fighting Chuck Norris in the Colosseum. Mm-hmm. And for the first time, you could see that for a Sino-American, it was possible to win. It's heroic. It's something, all of a sudden people see it's possible. So not just for that, but I think it was a very significant sign for people to see, look what this guy did. Yeah, and so Bruce Lee and Kung Fu anyway, every B-boy from the Bronx from back in the day would confirm that they always went to Times Square to watch all the Kung Fu movies. And like I mentioned before, you had Wu-Tang Clan, and other terms also from the Kung Fu days, like in dance and so on. You have the Ninja Freeze and so on and on in B-boying. That would confirm that Kung Fu played a very, very big role in it. And as last person, so now we had Bruce Lee, we had James Brown. I mentioned superheroes like, let's say, Spider-Man or something, and one more that is very important, in my opinion, is Muhammad Ali. Yeah, who was also the first, in my opinion, he was the first heavyweight champion of rap as well. The way he was rhyming in the press conferences and telling people how he was going to knock down in which and what round his opponent, and so on and on. It was perfect. So you have the rhyming, and when you look at Muhammad Ali in the ring and the way the quality, and it was just looking pretty. Muhammad Ali was not just a great fighter, I think he was the most beautiful fighter as well.
Because he could move.
Yeah, he could move.
Okay.
His footwork, his dancing, he was dancing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so all of these heroes
Yeah.
are in the dance somehow.
All these heroes. So if you would personify, if you take these, all connect them, merge them all into one, and you would have the perfect B-boy.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.